So we'll see how that works. We're going to fire it up overnight and we'll give you some feedback throughout the course of the evening. Alright, we have the walls and of course the floor. Getting a lot of air underneath, which is really helping to ignite this fire. We're not going to blow on it, it's literally just starting the heat straight away. The wife's just going to go more wood. We'll come back in a moment. G'day campers, welcome back to 1010 Adventures. So, just like the previous video, we are back at Grates Springs, just north of Lancefield in Victoria, a place called Nullarbale. Just started off today with a really great morning. Family of 3 wedge-tailed eagles flying overhead. You don't really understand how big those birds are till you see them in the wild at not too big a distance. They're big birds. I'll throw a couple of photos up now. I did my best to capture them with a zoom lens. My SLR is not the best camera in the world. It's a couple of years old, probably about 10 years old now. It doesn't capture the best photographs, but we'll see how we go. So we're going to do another product review now, and before I get started, I want to give a bit of a shout out to one of our subscribers. A couple of months ago, I was going over the YouTube channel tools, checking to make sure I was replying to comments, and I do always try to reply to comments where I can, unless your comment's a little bit insulting or just generally not worth commenting on, I'm not going to. But as a whole, I do try to reply to everybody. And I was going through the comments and found a comment from a bloke by the name of Matt. And Matt, big shout out to you on this one. Matt, in his comment, offered to purchase us an accessory for our pop-up fire pit. If you've watched our videos, you'll know we did a review of that. One of our first videos we put up. Matt was very curious about what the accessory, the cooktop accessory, was like for this fire pit. And Matt offered to buy it for us. And Matt, thank you again. We did decline. We're just a small channel, and I wasn't really sure at this point whether the channel was going to keep going. But it seems to be going okay. We're up to about 330 subscribers now, so it's slowly growing. So when Matt offered to buy it, I said no. I did want to do a review of this, but we weren't sure whether or not we were going to buy it. We have bought it. So Matt, this is a bit of a shout out to you. We're going to do a review of the pop-up fire pit grill top. So I haven't opened the box yet. I know what this does. I know what it's for, but let's pop her open and see what it looks like. So another good carry bag, canvas carry bag, just like same quality as the main fire pit bag. Alright, first and foremost, we have the actual folding grill tops. So, just like the rest of the fire pit, they're folded up to make transportation easier, make it fit in the bag a bit better. But also, they give you the option to fold parts of it away so that you can access the coals in the fire, which I'm going to do a bit of a cook with this later in this episode. So, we're going to see how this works, but let's knock the top off this one. So this actually comes in 2 parts, which is actually really good. I think we will probably only ever end up using one of these and use the other one as a spare. But we'll see how we go. We'll see whether that works. One of the, well, I'm sort of on the subject of these. One of the reasons we opted ultimately to purchase this, we did some slow cooked barbecue pork, the slow cooked pulled pork on our last trip away. And what we found with the fire pit, because of that mesh floor, it does get a lot of heat up through because there's constant airflow coming through underneath the fire. So the coals are actually a lot hotter than what they are in a normal fire pit. So we actually burnt quite a lot of that pulled pork to the bottom of our Dutch oven just because of the higher intensity heat. So we're actually hoping that these grill tops, if we are resting our Dutch oven on top of it, it's going to take it that little bit away from that direct heat. We'll still have coals on top, but we're hoping that it's just going to make that little bit of a difference in keeping food temperatures at a more stable temperature. All right, so what else have we got in here? Good work. All right, so these two aluminium edges, same cut and design as the edges that are around the outside of the fire pit. These ones don't have any holes in them, so they're obviously going to clip on with something, which I think I just threw part of on the ground. And I've got another set here. So, okay, so these are the adjustable legs. In a second I'll take us over to the fire pit and I'll show you where these sit, but they do slot together nicely for storage, so they just lock in place so you don't lose them, or you throw them on the ground like I did. Anyway, I'll take you over to the fire pit and we'll start assembling it. So next I'm going to grab one of our grill trays and pop it on. It just goes end to end. I'm going to be quite happy with just leaving one half of it on. I think we're going to be able to cook quite comfortably with that. There's quite a lot of area here. You'll easily fit a skillet and a Dutch oven quite easily. Okay, so that's on. I probably need to straighten it out a little bit. It's a little bit bent out of shape, but it's going to work. I guess from here, the next step is going to be to try cooking something on it. Okay, so the first thing we want to do is flour our lamb shanks. So I'm just going to grab a little bit of flour and just pop that down on our plate here. Don't need too much. Grab the first of our lamb shanks. Just make sure it gets a good dusting of flour. Don't be afraid to get a little bit of flour on your hands. Roll it around. Just want to give it a good coating. And of course, now I'm going to need a second plate to pop them on as they're done. Make sure you do get the edges of this as well. Just cover everything over with a nice dose of flour. And then in a few moments I'm going to pop a skillet on the new cooktop. I'm going to start just a little bit of butter and oil, just brown the outside of these. That just helps them, while we want the meat falling off the bone, we still want these to be reasonably intact. Okay, so I've got a skillet heating up here. I'm just going to knock the top off some extra virgin olive oil, just a light drizzle, doesn't need to be too much. And my lovely wife is going to do her best to stay out of screen and pass me the lamb shanks. Thank you, darling. And I'm just going to lay these down. That heated up really quickly, so that's good. I'm just going to pop these on here for probably just enough to brown them on the outside. They don't need to take too long. I'll grab some tongs and come back in a couple of minutes. Turn them over. I said you definitely don't want to cook these through. You just want to brown the outside. So, in fact, I'm just going to cover myself in flour. I'm just going to give them a little bit of a drizzle on the side that's not cooking. To add a little bit more oil to the pan, but also make sure that that's lubricated when we turn it over. All right, let's go and start prepping the rest of it. Okay, so the next thing we're going to do while those are frying off, we want to prep everything that's going to go into the Dutch oven. So I'm going to start off with, we had some jaffles today for lunch, which have the, we did what we did quite literally the last time we were at Granite Springs. We cooked them with chorizo. Now, we only need one for the jaffles, so I thought, well, let's throw some chorizo in instead of bacon into our lamb shanks. It's going to add a little bit of a smoke flavour and a little bit of spice. Don't know if it's going to work. We're mixing sort of a Spanish with an Italian recipe, but we'll see how we go. I'm not going to be too worried about how rough this cuts because it is going to break down quite a lot in the slow cooking. Okay, so I'm now just going to drop this straight into the Dutch oven. You want your Dutch oven cold at this point. Again, the chorizo, or if you're using bacon, or any preserved meats, you don't know what else you'd use. I don't think you'd be putting pastrami or something like that in there. But any of the any bacon or chorizo in this case, it's got a lot of fat in it. You want it to be able to braise that off. The best way to render that fat off is to start with a cold pan and then apply it to your heat. It's going to take all that fat out, and I've said it in other videos, fat equals flavour. Everything else we cook in here is then going to have that beautiful fatty flavour from the sausage into the vegetables that we're putting in here. So I'm just going to leave them there for a sec. I'm going to cut up the rest of the veggies ready to go, but I'm not going to pop them in just yet. Okay, let's knock the top off an onion. Yeah, you don't need the onion in a fine dice. Just a rough, coarse dice is fine. It's going to break down quite a lot in the slow cooking anyway. I'm just going to put this chopped onion into a bowl. So we've got that aside for later. Zucchini. Again, all these veggies are optional. You can do whatever you like. Sometimes you might put mushrooms in, olives, anything you really want. Olives, I don't know. I certainly won't because the better half would murder me. But yeah, zucchini. I think in this one I'm going to do zucchini, capsicum and carrot. But yeah, you can put anything in you like really. Opting for a green capsicum in this one. Just find that green capsicum's just got a little bit more tartness to it than say a red or a yellow, which tend to be a little bit on the sweeter side. And at the moment they're $3 million a kilogram as we're going through supply chain issues in Australia. So and the price of petrol is obscene. All right, that's the green veg chopped, and what we'll do now, rest that there, and we'll go and check on how those lamb shanks are doing. I'll pop this on the top as well, and then I'll come back, cut up a carrot, and we'll throw all the veg in with the pot with the lamb shanks. So let's get cracking. All right, so now that we've got those cooking, I'm just going to climb over here. I've got my Dutch oven with the chorizo in it. Let's try and keep that handle off. So I'm just going to let that render down a little bit. I'm sorry, Phoenix, am I sitting on you? We'll let that one render down just for 5 minutes or so. I will put the lid on just to get that heat starting to build up inside the pot, and we'll come back in a couple of moments. All right, well, the sizzle coming out of this, I would say my chorizo's doing well, which it is. Just pop that down there for a second. Let's give this a bit of a stir around. It's all starting to break up with those large chunks, which is good. Let's give it a bit of a stir around. All right, next thing I'm going to do, I'm going to add in those onions I cut up before. And I want to give the onions a little bit of time to break down as well. But again, they're going to start cooking off in all of that fat and oil from the chorizo. Just a little bit of a poke and a prod. And we'll just pop the lid back on. We'll start getting ready to get the rest of the veg and the garlic in. All right, next we want to add in our veggies. Slightly. If some go in the fire, it's all good. Let's get them in there. And we also want to add in a very generous serve of garlic. Oh. If I can do it without blinding myself with the smoke. Now the garlic's in there, we'll just stir that around a bit. You want to cook this for a good couple of minutes, just to let the veggies soften in with the garlic and the onion. Don't need to worry too much about over softening them. Give them a couple more minutes. Might just pop the lid on for a bit. I really do need to get a proper lid carrier for that. It didn't come with one. Alright, so in between that, my camera ran out of battery, so if the audio's a bit different, I do apologise. This camera doesn't work with my lapel mic. Alright, I almost forgot the most important ingredient, other than the lamb and the veggies, and that is a healthy load of rosemary. Just throw the whole sprig in, we'll pull the sticks out later. The next thing we want to do is add in a very generous serve of red wine. This is a Chateau to Bilk clean skin. Now I don't normally cook with cheap wine. I figure if it's not something you're going to drink, why would you cook with it? This clean skin is actually very, very good. To Bilk don't do nasty wine, so I'm going to chuck a bit of this in. About half a bottle. And we want to sort of cook that until we cook all the alcohol off. So the last time we cooked with this, we noticed as we were cooking with it sitting on the hot coals, we had food was sticking to the bottom of it the whole time. So it's good to see that we've got enough heat to be cooking this quite thoroughly. As you can see, the lamb shanks have browned really nicely. So it's really good to see that this is giving us a good bed to cook off. We've got heat going through. It's not too strong, although that is starting to boil, so I'm probably going to want a little bit less heat on that soon. No, that's correct, because we've got a large build-up of flame coming from the right-hand side of the fireplace where Carla's built up all the wood.
Other corner.
So now that all that alcohol's come off, I think the next step is going to be to add in some passata. Makes a nice satisfying pop. And I'm just going to put in that whole 680 gram bottle. I definitely want the rest of the juice out of that, so the next thing to add in is some stock. So I'm going to use some chicken stock. You can use beef stock, you can use homemade lamb stock. Obviously we're camping, we're not going to be making stock out here. I'm electing for a salt reduced chicken stock, just the old Campbell's variety. The reason I'm using chicken, I just think it's going to, when I cook this with beef stock, it tends to be a really strong flavour. If you're not wanting to do something that's super rich, maybe. Is that a bug in there, or is that my dish? No, it was a bug of some sort, buzzing. So, salt reduced. It's got a bit of salt in it from the chorizo, or if you're using bacon, that's going to have a lot of salt as well. As I was saying, if you've got fellow campers with you that don't do well with really strong or rich food, go with a chicken stock instead of a beef stock. And I'm just going to knock the top off that, and I'm going to pour pretty much most of it into the passata jar. I'm probably going to end up using the whole litre, just looking at the size of the stock pot, or the Dutch oven. Give that a good shake, get all that passata out of there. I'm just going to grab my spoon and give that a bit of a stir. Alright, I'm going to put the shanks in now. One, because I don't want them cooking anymore. And two, I want to see how much room for liquid I've actually still got in here. I can tell you, not much more. There's probably about half a litre of stock in here still, so pour a little bit more in. Not a lot. And the only other thing to put in is a little squeeze of tomato paste. Okay, so it appears that when we packed the fridge, we grabbed the wrong tub, and we've got pizza sauce instead of tomato paste. All the pizza base is really a tomato paste with herbs in it, so yeah, it'll be fine. Generous squeeze of that. We'll stir that through, and then we're just going to let this sit with the lid on. I'm actually not going to put anything. I'm not going to put any coals on top for the moment. I think that's going to be too much heat, but we'll see. We're just going to keep coming back to this as we go. We just want to cook this for about well, minimum of 2 hours, but probably for a lot longer.
Exactly 5 hours, 27 minutes and 3 seconds later.
Alright, it's time to serve up. A couple of plates. I just mashed some potato, quick and easy recipe. I tend to not use, well, as you've seen in previous videos, Carla can't have dairy products unless we're using goat or sheep milk. I'm not sure how goat milk would go in a mashed potato, so just have my head torch off for a second. Yeah, I'm not sure how Carla would go with goat's milk in a mashed potato. So in this instance, I've used olive oil with a little bit of salt and pepper. Do it all the time. Nothing too exciting. It's fairly traditional mashed potato when you're not doing a creamy one. So you do get some pretty white and fluffy mashed potato. That's good. Alright. Let's grab some of these shanks out. That, it's coming out okay on the camera, but that is a beautiful piece of lamb shank. So rest that on the mash there. Bit of a mess. I mentioned that sprig of rosemary earlier that I said we would take out. Well, that's it there. So that's smell-o-vision would be great right now because you can really smell the rosemary coming off this dish, but we're not actually going to need that anymore. All that bit. It's just a beautiful piece of meat. It's just starting to fall off the bone, as it should. Veggies, a bit of a stir. Nothing is stuck to the bottom. So it looks like the grill plate has worked the way that I wanted it to. I'm able to produce something slow cooked, off the coals, and not burning it to the bottom. So it's counteracting the just the sheer amount of heat that's coming off the underneath. And I apologise for the amount of steam that's coming through at the moment. It's probably, well, it feels like it's about -2 at the moment. The temperature is absolutely plummeted. Just grab a bit of a serving spoon and see if I can get some of this chorizo and vegetable mix out. Let's put that. That's a nice bit of it. Not a bit of rosemary. Really do want a nice helping of sauce on this. There we have it. Well, to quote Harry Fisher from Fire to Fork, I think it's time for some gratuitous B-roll, and I'm going to have a bevy. thanks again for watching, everyone. And again, Matt, huge thank you for, let's just say, recommending the grill top for further look. Hope you guys enjoy the video. Like, comment, subscribe below. We'll see you in the next one. Okay, so I thought I'd just come back before we end the video and just let you know how that tasted. All in all, actually pretty good, but chorizo may be a bit much for most people. Recommend you stick with a ham hock or a good bit of speck, or just some good smoky bacon. Other than that, guys, thanks for watching. See you in the next one.